Police walked toward protesters during a demonstration against the Group of Seven in Quebec City on Friday. Martin Ouellet-Diotte, AFP Getty Images. Nora Loreto is a Canadian freelance writer and author of From Demonized to Organized, Building the New Union Movement. Quebec City is a government town. After work, thousands of people line up and wait for the dozens of buses that take them to the suburbs that surround the city. During the afternoon commute on Thursday, the city was eerily quiet. Concrete barriers were erected around the city's Congress Centre and Hilton Hotel. The buildings are across from the famous old city, Vieux Québec, where some businesses had boarded up their windows for the weekend. Quebec is beautiful this time of year, and that was certainly a factor in why it was chosen to host the Group of Seven summit. But the clash of the old architecture and plywood sheets attract the attention of tourists and locals alike. "I guess they're expecting trouble here," one woman says to another in English, pointing at a boarded-up window. The G7 was imposed on the people of Quebec. In May 2017, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that the summit would be held in the tourist town of Malbaie, northeast of Quebec City. The image of a political summit instantly conjured memories from 2001, when the famous Battle of Quebec took over the city during the Summit of the Americas in April of that year. The images of tear gas, fences and broken windows remain etched in the minds of the people of the city and across Canada. The Summit of the Americas was the last time anti-globalization protests would hit a fever pitch in North America. The World Trade Center attacks on September 11, 2001, changed politics and activism, and for Canadians, there would not be another similar show of state force against protesters until 2010 in the Toronto area for the G8 G20 summits. During the past few months, the rhetoric from journalists and politicians has been laden with fear, and preemptive closures have sent the message to citizens to stay home. The National Assembly, the provincial parliament, shut down, an extremely rare event in its history. Municipal offices closed, as well as restaurants, schools, daycares, gas stations and banks. 3,000 police officers have been mobilized. The costs are anticipated to surpass $605 million Canadian dollars. With the G7 summit taking place almost 2 hours by car from downtown Quebec City, it's hard to understand the justification for these measures. The first protest of the summit happened at 6:30 p.m. Thursday, and the hundreds of protesters were monitored by what appeared to be an equal number of police. The officers were in full riot gear, many ditching the classic blue riot uniforms for army green. There were only 3 arrests. Of the heads of state meeting at the G7, only Trudeau and French President Emmanuel Macron were in Quebec on Thursday. They arrived together that evening and went immediately to Malbaie by helicopter. Whom are the police protecting? In 2010, the last time the G20 was held in Canada, more than 1,100 people were arrested, the vast majority later released without charge. During much of that weekend, protesters were more often than not outnumbered by the police. In the 8 years since the Toronto summit, inquiries and court procedures have revealed the extent to which security forces intimidated protesters. Police hid their name tags while they carried out mass arrests. They used kettling tactics, detaining people on the streets for hours, for the first time in Canada. They tested a new arsenal of weapons, from sound cannons to tear gas. Protesters were forced from the designated free speech zone by mounted police. Amid the chaos, it felt to me more like a police training exercise than a free exercise of our guaranteed right to expression. Since Toronto, these tactics have been used with more regularity. In Quebec, student protests have ended in police kettles. Protests that don't divulge their trajectory are likely to be declared illegal. Shuttering the city creates a chill that is hard to combat. When your favorite small business owner boards up her windows, it's hard to not feel as though you should also be concerned too. Protest and civil disobedience are the bedrock of democracy. The militarized presence of the police to discourage any kind of protest has long-term consequences, and it will take great citizen courage to stand up to these attacks on our collective responsibility to confront power.